What's up, guys? You are listening to HVAC Masters of the Hustle podcast, and this is your host, J Dub Moneymaker, and welcome to episode 110. First off, I want to say thank you to everyone that reaches out and tells me every week how this podcast brings you and your company to the next level. And for all my new listeners out there, make sure you guys smash the subscribe button. As I say, this podcast is helping thousands and thousands of people get to the next level. And I believe that everyone has a Spartan in them. It's my job, my duty, and my obligation to bring that out in you. And man, we have a great podcast episode for you guys. We have the one and only Ryan Stewman in the hot seat. How you doing, Ryan?
What's up, man? I'm always busy. That's what I'm always doing. Busyness, I guess.
Busyness, absolutely, man. And busyness is a good thing, right? So, Ryan, talking to my listeners, first off, let me introduce you to the HVAC world, man. So, I got 10,000 listeners that follow my podcast, and a lot of people wanted me to get you on the podcast because you are a mindset driver that always wants to get to the next level, right? And that's what's good about my industry, or people that follow my podcast, is it's a lot of people that want to get to that next level. So can you kind of give yourself a quick introduction to my listeners out there?
That'd be awesome. I'm from Dallas, Texas. I lived here for 41 years, and I'm getting old. And I get out often, so I'm not one of those guys that never left his hometown. I just really like it here. And I'm married, and I have 4 kids, and my wife, Amy, and I have been together for, I think, 8 years now. And I run several different businesses, everything from, I have a few software businesses that I own. I own a large business consulting program. And I got my hands in restaurants, real estate, and everything in between. And I've been, basically, probably for the last 3 years, or the first 3 years of my life, I really haven't been a salesperson. I got where I'm at today through sales, and was a salesperson from age 13 to probably 39. And now I still occasionally close sales or whatever, but it's not necessarily my job title anymore. But it was for many years, and I just kind of give you the highlight reel, but my life's been filled with ups and downs like everybody else's, and awesome highs and tragic lows, and being able to still be here today and finally have made the exit from having to be on the front lines of sales every day and running thriving businesses across multiple industries, and building what Warren Buffett calls a moat around your nest egg is really where I'm headed these days. But a lot of people know me online as a hardcore closer, and I started out as teaching people sales because that was all I knew. Back in 2010, when I discovered that there was this thing called internet marketing, I started teaching specifically mortgage officers how to do sales on social media. I know it sounds like common sense now, but back in 2010, people were like, Facebook, they call it Facebook. And like, I don't think they're like, that's a fad. And I was like, no, man, it's going to be more powerful than email. And they're like, no, it's just a fad. Well, I bought into it, luckily, and it worked really well for me. And so I started sharing the things that work with, I'm one of those big believers, just kind of like you were in the HVAC world. And so you teach people how to do things that are HVAC related, right? It was the same for me, man. That's where I started. I was in the mortgage world, and that was all I knew, right? It's not like you were like good at HVAC and you're trying to teach people how to sell cloud storage space. You know what I mean? It's like you don't have the experience or the track record there, and I didn't either. And so I started teaching loan officers, how to close more loans and do what I did. And I had a lot of records in that industry, similar to you. Mm-hmm. And then, realtors started asking me, they're pretty similar to loan officers. They say, hey, what that works for loan officers probably work for us. Then I got a couple niches after a few years rolling. And then I got kind of tired of saying the same old shit. It's like after doing it for 6 years, it's like, all right, look, it's just the same process kind of drove me nuts. And I had to really take a perspective shift and start thinking bigger and think, okay, right now I'm limiting myself to the 300,000 loan officers that exist in the world and the 3 million real estate agents that exist in the world. So best case scenario, I got 3.5 million people that I can make an impact on. If I have 100% market penetration, which is ludicrous, right? I
Yeah.
had to think something bigger. I want to reach 3.5, 4.5, 10.5 million people and more, but I'm not going to be able to do that in that industry. So I had to start, like I said, thinking bigger. And I realized that, being a loan officer, I've dealt with thousands of financial statements and transactions because that's what I did, right? And then being a coach for 6 years at that point, I had worked with thousands upon thousands of different people that own businesses and things like that. And I realized, hell, I can do what I did for loan officers for a plumber. I can do what I did for loan officers for a financial advisor. I can do what I did for loan officers
Absolutely.
with somebody that's a fund manager for a syndication on huge apartment complexes, right? Like I can do this for everything. So for the last 4 years, we've worked with 3 different levels of how we have people that are salespeople, people that own their own business that are just getting started, and people that have a booming, thriving big business. And so we deliver what we got to deliver to them based on where they're living in the business world. So.
Awesome. Well, thank you for sharing that story. Real quick, talking about before we get into, business, you talked about the lows of the lows. People, walk their own life in their own shoes, right? What's one thing, because you could have gone right or left, right? And you ended up going the right direction, which is right. But coming from your background and everything, how is it that Ryan kept his mindset focused to get to the next level when you had so many obstacles that were holding you back?
I get asked this a lot, and I really didn't have a good answer until a couple of months ago. And it's like this: you don't know what you don't know. Let's say that you sell HVAC, right? And you're an HVAC salesperson, so like I know every time you motherfuckers come to my house, it's like $10,000, right? It's like because I need a new AC or some shit, right?
20,000.
Yeah, I think I paid like 12 for the last one that I bought here. In my luck, I moved in this house 3 years ago and the AC broke immediately. And son of a bitch, you know what I mean? So, and I had just replaced the one in my old house too. That's kind of the downside of living in Texas. Them ACs work really fucking hard down here, So,
Oh yeah.
But like suppose that and I've seen this in sales across every industry, but suppose that you thought you could only sell $5,000 per household. That was like some king shit. And then they meet you and they find out that like 20,000 is like average for a guy like you. It's right. All of a sudden, what they thought was like the limit, they're like, oh shit, you just passed that limit 4x, right?
Absolutely.
And so, but they don't know what they don't know. If they never run into you, they'd have been happy at that $5,000, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. That's a comfortable life, but it's not 20. Right. And so for me, what happened was for a long time, I didn't know. So I was just working at the car wash, happy to be making 60 grand a year. But then somebody came into the car wash one day and offered me a job. And I went and worked in the mortgage business. And up until that point, I didn't know what I didn't know. I thought $60,000 at 23 years old or 21 years old was a good living, right? But then I go work in this mortgage business. I'm making $700,000 a year by the time I'm 23, 24 probably at that point. It's like, oh shit. But then I got arrested and I got in some trouble when I was a teenager, and that shit kind of came back to haunt me, and I ended up getting arrested, and I had to go serve 15 months in prison. And I had already served prison time before. So it's like, it's a long story. We ain't got enough time on the podcast, but just fucking sucked. And I really didn't have anything to do with it. And it's all over about $200, right? So it's been like 10 years in and out of prison.
Bullshit.
$200 fucking dollars.
Fuck.
Right. So I said yesterday, it's like, just a little side ramble. Everybody's like, LeBron James is out of line saying the police are corrupt. How the fuck you think the police aren't corrupt? I got a car that does 200 miles an hour. We got a 75-mile-an-hour speed limit. That's bullshit. The same speed limit been the same way 40 fucking years of my life when we made cars that didn't even go 70 miles an hour back then 40 years ago. It's like, but it's there because they write you a ticket. That's corruption. The fact that in Oklahoma, my neighboring state, you can fucking go and have and smoke as much marijuana as you want to. You can go get as much of it as you want to. But if you step across the Red River in Texas with that shit, your ass may not ever get out of jail. You can't tell me that's not fucking corrupt, right? So that's what I have to deal with. Something similar. in Texas, there's a law that if you're a convicted felon, you can have guns, right? Can have them, carry them, whatever the fuck you want to. Yeehaw. But the ATF doesn't recognize that right. Kind of like if you want to smoke weed in California, it's fine. But if the DEA wants to raid your dispensary, they still can't.
Absolutely.
It's complete bullshit. It's corruption, just like I told you. And so they thought I was selling drugs. I wasn't. And so they stuck some bullshit charge on me. I beat the charge and the cocksuckers turned me over to the ATF. So imagine this, ladies and gentlemen listening. Imagine that you 19, you go to jail for 2 years for a crime you did commit. You had like $200 worth of cocaine on you, and you clean up your life. You get a lucky break. Most people don't get a lucky break, or if they do, they miss it, right? Like somebody offers them a lucky break and they turn it down. Yeah, I got a lucky break. That lucky break makes me a millionaire within 24 months and changes the course of my life and my family's life forever. But the police think I'm living too high on the hog, so they raid my house. And there's no drugs in my house, so they fucking start this other stuff. I got to go back to prison for 15 months after I beat a case and everything else. And I came out of prison broke as shit. Like with $25 to my name, no place to live. Like I had to go live in a halfway house. And the reason why I say that is, had I never known that shit, I would have never been, if I'd have just been the car wash guy, none of those things would have happened to me. I would have never went to prison because I'd never had the big house and the fancy cars and shit that I did. I wouldn't have been on anybody's radar in the small town that I lived in. However, you don't know what you don't know. But once you know something, like I knew what it felt like to go, when I got out of prison in 2008, I knew what it felt like to go from 0 to 1 million. I knew that feeling. And guess what? It's like sex or anything else. Like the first time might be a little bit awkward or struggle, but the second time, you know what you're doing by that point. You know what I'm saying? And so I knew what I was doing, and I had a belief that I could do it again. And the funny thing is, all the people around me, when I got out of prison the second time, they were like, oh, you know, you're never going to make it, blah, blah, blah. You fucked up the one shot that you had. I was like, I didn't fuck it up, first of all. And who says that I only get one shot? I just had this belief. And I just believed that, hey, anything could be possible, you know? And at the time, I didn't really know any two-time felons that were doing any kind of anything, right? I really didn't even know any two-time felons except the ones that I was locked up in prison with. And so it was like, you know, for me, everybody kept trying to put that label on me, but I'm like, I'm not a felon. I didn't do the shit. And the things that I did do weren't even bad in the first place. So what? I had a gun, totally legal. So what? I did coke. They fucking do it every night, everywhere across the world. It wouldn't be $1 trillion fucking industry. I'm not alone. The only difference is I got caught, and fuck me for doing it. I literally have done cocaine once in my life, and I got caught. That's how terrible of a fucking criminal I am, which is why I don't commit crimes. And so, like, you know, some people they think like, you know, when they hit rock bottom or they hit a struggle, or at the time they feel cursed. But really, man, me going through that and getting that felony was a part of me getting to where I am today. Because here's what happens: in 2008, they released me from federal prison. I go work back in the mortgage business. From 2008 to 2010, I take out another $300,000-$400,000 from the game. Right, fresh out of prison, worst economy ever. The news is saying the mortgage industry's dying. Real estate's never going to build itself again. The world's coming to an end. It's all somebody's fault, whoever was president at the time, Bush or whatever the fuck. And here I am right in the middle of it, right? And so then Obama got elected. And everybody's like, oh, the end of the world, this guy, blah, blah, blah. He's a young dude. And you know, like, but here I am thriving because I believed it was possible. And I always have like innovation. So when everybody was leaving the mortgage business, I would just call the people that were leaving and be like, who's going to take care of your people? Like introduce them to me. Right. And so I ate up some market share that way. But Obama passed a law called the Dodd-Frank Act in 2010, and Trump repealed it, which Biden's president now, so probably it's coming back. But the long story short is they took mortgage licenses and made them a federal thing. And since I was on federal parole at the time, I could not get what's called federal probation. I couldn't get a license. So it forced me to start my own business. Okay. Now, at the time, I was probably like, why me? You know, but I look back now and I'm like, oh, okay, well, that sucked that I went to prison, but we don't have the time. But some cool shit happened there, right? Like some things that changed the course of my life happened while in there. Then because of that felony, had I not got that second felony, I would have never stopped being a loan officer. and I wasn't called to be a loan officer. That's part of my journey, but that wasn't the destination.
Absolutely.
And had I not had that second felony, I would have still been on that journey and never reached the destination. You see, I realized at a young age that I'm supposed to be doing what I'm doing right now, but I thought, who in the hell would want to listen to me at some point in my life? And it turns out millions of people want to listen to me daily. We have 3 million people that listen to my podcast every single day, man. So it turns out a lot of people want to listen to me, but you get that insecurity and self-doubt and everything else when you just step out and do it. I just did it. I'm like, fuck it. If they listen, if they don't, I'm just going to do it, And for a long time, they didn't listen, ladies and gentlemen. For a long time, nobody wanted me on their podcast. Nobody was listening to my shit. And I started podcasting in 2011. And it wouldn't be till like 2018 till motherfuckers went, you know what? You got a good podcast, got a lot of episodes too, right? And it started catching on, man. But I mean, we're talking, almost 7 years of doing something with like little or no, you've started this podcast. You said you have 10,000 listeners. Like it probably took me the first 3 or 4 years to get that many. Back then podcasting wasn't really a thing. Nobody was doing it. It wasn't easy to do like it is now. There's apps and shit like Zoom that make it easy. I mean, it was a fucking process, right? I still don't even know how the hell I did that back then, because now I just record some shit and ship it off to our produce department, or they production and all that. So, but the thing is, all those things that I thought were curses at the time, the prison, the losing my job in the mortgage industry, they turned out to be huge blessings. They were just like, what I look at is like interventions from God that had to come in and go, nope, you're not going to do that. I've been trying to tell you, you dumb shit, and then move me back in the direction that I need to move in. Because, now I feel like and I'm still pretty young, I'm 41, but I feel like for the first time in my life, I'm with like the right place, the right time, with the right people doing the right thing,
Absolutely.
And and when you can get to that peace of mind where, if Jeff Bezos walked in right now and was like, I'll trade you my bank account for yours, but you got to trade my life for yours, I'd be like, nah, bro, I'm I don't want all that, man. I got what I want,
Absolutely.
And, I got hair for one, trying to keep that shit, you know what I'm saying? I'm getting old, and it's kind of going back a little bit, but it ain't Jeff Bezos going back. So that's one thing we ain't trading for sure. But that's how you should really strive to be wherever you are in life, because you want to get to a place in life where it's not a measure of money, and you gotta have money first. Like, don't fuck that up. This is how the money thing works. Let me just say this, because so many people won't just be the truth. You got to make money so you can tell all the people that didn't think you can make money, fuck off, right? And you may not have to verbally say that, but you know what, having money.
Actions speak louder.
Yeah, when you hate on me, when I pull up to your place in a different fucking car every day of the week, right? A different nice car every day of the week. You know what I'm saying? I ain't got to say fuck you. You're hearing it yourself,
Yeah.
Once you get over that, you start to realize that, okay, I got a little bit of money. And for some people, it might be a couple $100,000. For some people, it might be a couple $100 million. I'm not putting a limit or a dollar amount on your dreams, but there becomes a point where it's like, okay, I got the money, my bills are taken care of, there's a huge amount of stress off of my plate. That's when you really once you get to that place, that's when you really got to start finding happiness, because money's a magnifier. And if you're not happy where you're at, it's going to magnify your anxiety. It's going to magnify your anger. It's going to magnify your fear. And man, that's why so many people lose it. So you got to get to a place where you got the money, and it's the fuck off money, the people that doubted you, right? And then you can start using that money to make yourself happy, right?
Well, quick question, Ryan. Talking to my listeners right now, what did you have to sacrifice? Because in order to get to the next level, we have to sacrifice something, right? You come 4 kids, a wife, right? Me being on the road all the time away from my family is a sacrifice. What is it that my listeners have to do to sacrifice to get to the next level? Or what did Ryan Stewman do in order to get to that level of success? Because it doesn't come easy.
Well, I guess the biggest sacrifice for me would be secrecy. I had to sacrifice secrecy, man. I'm in a position, like I said, I got 3 million people that listen to our podcast. We got 1.5 million people that follow us on social media, and millions of people daily that read the websites that I'm on. And I don't say that to like brag. I just say that because the person that I am and the leader that I position myself to be in the market is the real person. So, you won't ever find me out fucking drunk in public. You won't find me in my house drunk either. I'm just not that guy. You know what I mean? You're not gonna find me out. I was with Rick Ross and 2 Chainz last weekend hanging out, and was invited to go out to the opening of Live Miami. And, they were going to stay out till 3 or 4 in the morning, all that. It's like, man, it's just not me. You know what I mean? And there's going to be people there that know me. And they're going to be like, what's Stewman doing out? It's almost like being a pastor. You know what I mean? Like, I don't have the opportunity. There ain't no cheating on my wife. You know what I'm saying? There ain't no stepping out there. I got to be the leadership. So I've sacrificed secrecy. A lot of people get to do dirt behind doors and keep it a secret, man. I don't get that. But back when I was building my business, and I don't need it. I'm just saying that, that when the devil plays games in your mind, man, I got to tell him to shut up quick, man, because I'm not trying to hear
absolutely.
it.
Absolutely.
And that's my life. I hang out with athletes and celebrities and musicians and stars. Tomorrow night, I'm going to be bringing up on stage in Fort Worth the platinum recording artists, right? Like, these are my friends and people. Like, those people got no shortage of good fucking times, right? But, but everywhere I go, people know me. And again, I'm not saying that to brag. Like, if I go sit down, I can fly to bumfuck nowhere right now and sit down in a bar, and the dude next to me be like, hey, I watch your shit. It's mind blowing. Like, we can't go anywhere. I get people that send me pictures in my DMs of my cars or me going through the airport stuff, which I love. It's like, it's not weird to me at all. It's awesome. It's what I'm trying to do. But there is no secrecy with me, man. I got to represent what it looks like at all times, right?
Absolutely.
Back in the beginning, when I lost that job, I was making, let's say I made $300,000 in 2009. It's a good living. And in 2010 March, I lost that ability to sustain that, right? And I think I had already made like, 100 or 150 grand by March. So I was on pace to maybe do 400 or 500 grand in 2010, right? And then boom, it's just overnight gone. And I had money saved up, but you got to remember, I haven't been out of prison but like fucking 8 months at this point. So I ain't had that much saved up. I was on a W-2, by the way, for 300 grand, which means the government takes 100 grand of it, maybe 120 grand of it immediately, right? So then I'm living on 180. I didn't have no credit because I've been in fucking prison for 2 years. So I had to buy a fucking car for cash. I had to buy a fucking house that they would only let me pay fucking monthly installments of like 10 or 15 fucking grand because I was trying to pay it off in a year with the owner financing. It's like, I didn't expect this shit. And then boom, it's like, it's all swept out from under me. So I rented that house out. Because by this time I'd already paid it off. I rented the house out to one of my friends for like $1,200 a month. So I had $1,200 cash flow. Moved in with my in-laws into their upstairs bedroom. But I was real about it. I'd be on the internet being like, you know what, man, I'm making a pivot. So here's the sacrifice. It's all fucking documented on YouTube. And so many people try to play around and act like they got their shit figured out. And I was just like, hey, man, you guys are, this is going to work out. I know it's going to. It might be a long time, which it was, but you're going to be able to see this. So like you can see the whole journey of what I did. But man, I moved with wife and kid into the in-laws house, which is like the most fucking emasculating thing on the fucking planet for a man to do.
Oh yeah.
But I'm pretty sure my house is bigger than that house now. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I had to live there for probably 6 to 8 months, and I mean, it wasn't prison, so I've been in worse, obviously, right? And I got along with them, but that was embarrassing to go from the dude that had it all figured out, top producer, to like, the motherfucker like quit his job and moved in with his fucking in-laws. What's going on over there? You know how people are, man.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I've done that and moved in with my in-laws, right when me and my wife got married, right? So talk about, even though you get along with your in-laws, it's a pride thing as a man, right? That
you want to own you're the lion. You want to own your own den,
Absolutely. So, those are one of the struggle things that my listeners know me coming up and everything. But I got to ask you, Ryan, one thing that I talk about all the time is talking about what drives you, your purpose, and your why. What is that for Ryan Stewman?
Well, that's something I'm pretty passionate about, man, because over the years I've had different missions, and they were really never big enough, right? And I always thought a mission was something that you need to accomplish. But then I look at the U.S. political system and I'm like, dude, when we go to war with somebody, we don't ever fucking stop. So what is the mission here? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I got zingers all day long, buddy. But the thing is, like, I needed to create a mission. So 4 years ago, my mission in life became to help as many people as possible become the greatest version of themselves. And you'll see a lot of people with that in their bio on the internet, because there's a lot of people on this mission with me. And we developed some core values around it, that We make no excuses. We do what we say we're going to do when we say we're going to do it. We put in hard work. We're not above anything, and we go above and beyond, right? And I started putting these in my work. So my life mission is to help as many people as possible become the greatest version of themselves. Our Apex Coaching Consulting Program, their mission is to represent what winning looks like at all times. These are things that if you realize I didn't say that, to help 1 million people or to help 1,000 people, it's to help as many people as possible. That mission is never going to end, right? And to become the greatest version of themselves. Me and you are working on becoming better every day, man. So this is a lifelong journey that I'm taking with people here, And because of that, I have to be that guy that, like I said, I can't be fucked up on TMZ video. I can't be sending people funny memes that I think are fucking funny that I probably shouldn't share with people, but I still think are funny, right? Like I have to really be particular about that because I have a character that's in the public eye. And my goal now in life is the real people that I'm focused the most on helping become the greatest version of themselves are the people that are in our programs in my company that are leaders that one day are going to take this over from me. I'm at a point right now, you're talking about leveling up. I believe there's 4 levels and 6 skills that you need to be able to do that. And I'm on, and I'll explain in a second, but I'm on level 3 trying to get to 4 and mastering this last little fucking skill here. But the first level is sales, right? You're a salesperson. And when you're a salesperson, there's 2 skills that you have to master before you can go to level 2. So let me tell you what I'm doing here first. Is like most people say, oh, I want to level up. I want to go to the next level. They don't have a definition for that shit. They're just fucking saying it because it sounds cool and they're hoping you agree with them, right?
Yeah.
But now I'm going to put some definitions on that shit. So when you say it, you got to do. So
level 1. Speak it.
Level 1 is a salesperson, right? And so in order to master sales, because you got to master before you level up. In order to master a sales position, you have to be good at closing sales. You have to be good at generating leads. I know a lot of great salespeople that are way better salespeople than me that are broke as shit because they don't know how to get leads. Me, I may not be the greatest salesperson. I know I'm not the greatest salesperson in the world, and I'm not stupid enough to think I am, but really fucking good at getting leads. And if I understand the golden principle of sales, the more hands you shake, the more money you make, then you can be the greatest sales guy in the world, and I can be a shitty salesperson. But if I'm shaking 1 million hands a day and you're shaking 1,000 hands a decade, who's going to win? Who's going to make more money, right? And so you have to master those 2 skills. So when you get like me and you're good at sales and you can generate leads, you have to go write my own check anywhere. If they fire me from my job, fuck you. I'll go make the next man rich.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Right? Once you master those skills, then you can go to level 2, which is becoming an entrepreneur. That's somebody who has filled out an LLC, started their own business, has less than 3 employees and less than 2 years in business, right? So it can be a side hustle, a main hustle, doesn't matter. But if you can get leads and close them, then you can make money in any business, right?
Absolutely.
Like if you know how to get HVAC leads and sell them at the door, you can start your own HVAC business, right? You'll figure the rest of the shit, the accounting, all that. You'll figure that out as you fuck it up. That's how it works. So many people don't understand that. You'll figure it out as you fuck it up. But if you can get sales and close them, if you get leads and close them, you can start your own shit. I don't care what you do. But when you get to be an entrepreneur, you don't disregard sales and marketing. Those don't go away. Those are permanent, okay? And then you got to bolt on 2 more skills. Hiring, which is a struggle for so many people. There's like, people's like, dude, I'm really good at sales, making $1 gazillion. I can't hire people to save my fucking life, right? But you're always going to be self-employed if you don't have people to employ. If nobody's employed but you, you're always going to be self-employed. You don't want to stay in that batter's box forever. So hiring. The second component in that level is training, because you can hire the greatest people in the world, but if you don't train them to do the job, they'll leave you. If you don't have standard operating procedures, and if you don't have responsibility for them and a sense of pride established in them in a culture, which all comes from hiring and training, right? So once you have at least 5 employees, been in business for 2 years, and have a board of directors, you become a CEO, right? You own the business. You're no longer just an entrepreneur. You're the CEO of a company. Now, I know a lot of people, when they fill out an LLC, they just put CEO on there. But in my opinion, a CEO is a person with a board of directors, a CFO, a COO, a VP, and a chairman, right? And employees, right? Preferably more than 5 employees in a business that's established. When you're at that level, the 2 skills that you need are leadership, because you're no longer sales. I'm no longer in sales, right? My guy Drewby, that's the VP of sales for my company, him and Zach and Tyler, that's their job, right? And Thomas, they all run that division. I don't pick up the phone. I don't deal with the leads. I'm not in that. But I'm leadership. I'm coaching these guys. I'm mentoring these guys. I'm taking care of these guys. I'm making sure they see the life. They got the vision. I'm making sure that my operations, I've never been in operations, but I'm making sure they got the vision. I'm making sure that they speak to people the right way. I make sure I'm speaking to them the right way, developing that leadership culture. And then the last skill that you need in order to get to the final level is branding. Because my company and program is called Apex, right? And it's not Ryan Stewman University like Tony Robbins and Grant Cardone have done. The problem is those guys are in their 60s or they're close to it. Mm-hmm. And, you know, nobody, once they're gone, I'm not going to buy a Grant Cardone meeting where, you know, John Smith shows up on stage. I don't give a shit if it's Grant's SOP, and John could even be a better speaker, but I fucking love Grant. If he ain't going, I ain't buying. It's that simple. Yep. You know what I mean? Like, and there'll be some 5-10 year overlap, but after that, that shit's gonna go away. Look at Dale Carnegie. Who's going to Dale Carnegie events now? Nobody. Who's going to Zig Ziglar fucking remakes? Nobody. They call me all the time. They can't sell that shit to save their life. People buy their books, but they ain't buying their training programs, right? And so I don't want to be that way. So what I've got to do is create a brand that's multi-generational, right? I'm gonna be able to hand it off to my VP and my COO. Then they're going to be able to hand it off maybe to my kids. Then my kids may be able to hand it off to one of their fucking kids, right? But I got to create something that if Ryan Stewman's gone and out of the question, it's like, okay, well, who cares? We got this thing still going because it's not built around Ryan anyway, right? It's built around the process and the network. I got into the elevator in January to go to one of my events. Like my event, I'm the fucking headline guy at my event. I get in the elevator and the dude in the elevator, I'm like, hey man, what's up, dude? You ever been to one of these before? And he's like, no, man. He's like, what's your name? I'm like, get the fuck out of here. But it made me feel good because like, dude, I'm doing my job. This dude's showing up at my events and he doesn't even know who I am. I'm doing my job, you know? Like once Steve Jobs died, we didn't go, shit, these phones are useless, right? That wasn't the case anymore, right? We're like, Tim Cook, who the fuck is that? All right, let's see what happens.
Technology
right? Like,
keeps growing.
Exactly, and Tim's done a great job. He took them to $1 trillion, you know?
Absolutely. So
the world didn't even know who Tim Cook was until Trump called him Tim Apple anyway. The world's like, oh, so that's who's been running Apple the whole time. That makes sense, right? Like,
absolutely. So Ryan, talking about, you know, bringing in employees and everything, talking to some of maybe my HVAC business.
I'm sorry. Yes. The fourth level. I didn't say the fourth. I gave you the 6 skills, but I didn't give you the fourth level. I'm sorry. I just thought of that. The fourth level is being one of two things, an owner or an investor. So you're never going to retire. So the key is to go from CEO to chairman. For me, my goal is to still own the company, but not work in it. Right? Like I go to the quarterly meetings, but that's about the fucking gist of it, right?
Yeah.
My team, everybody's running that for me. They got some ownership and equity in the game too, and I got some ownership in the equity. So if I retire and go to an island somewhere, I still got money coming in from that shit, right? Or Absolutely. On the flip side, if I sell my business, that's if I retain it. The other option is if you sell your business, then you become an investor, because what people don't understand, it's not like you just make $100 million or $10 million or whatever that number is. You just go to Hawaii and buy a house. First of all, a house in Hawaii costs $10 million. So you got to dream bigger. But second of all, that's not how it works. Then your full-time job is multiplying capital, right? Finding deals to invest in, finding bank accounts to hold your money. One of my friends, Ed Milat, he pays somebody full-time just to find bank accounts for him, right? Like you can only have so many thousand bank accounts. You got to think. An FDIC account shared to $250,000. So if you're trying to stash money back, man, there's a lot of different accounts. You got to have this stuff in if you want to keep it safe. Sure, you know, you're not always putting all your money in cash in a bank account. Then you got to find investment structures. Then you got to find an IELTA account. They do that easy, right? So you're either investing your money or you're collecting your money. Depends on if you sell if your exit from CEO is a sell or your exit from CEO is a promotion to someone else. Like, for example, we in our lifetime online, we've watched Jeff Bezos go through this. We watched him work as a Wall Street trader, start Amazon, and raise capital in the garage. We've all seen the spray paint Amazon sign in the storage space, right? To building Amazon, taking it public, becoming the CEO, right? And then you'll see this in October of this year. You'll see him step down from Amazon. Someone will step over and he will retain ownership. and the shares that he has in the company, but he will have nothing to do with them. He might go into chairman mode. I know when Bill Gates did this last year, he stayed he did it 3 years ago as chairman, and then last year exited completely. So I think Bezos will just exit completely. I mean, if I had 200 billion, that's the fuck I am doing. Be like, fuck your meetings. I'm not coming anymore. And if you know anything about Bezos, he hates meetings anyway, right? Like that's his thing. He absolutely hates them. So.
Well, one thing you talk about as well is for business owners to get to the next level, it's all data, right? The importance of data. Can you go over that?
Yeah, well, even with crypto, that's what makes cryptocurrency so important is it collects the data. If I pay you in Bitcoin, there's no going back on that, right? Like it's all trackable. There's no cash under the table. It's all trackable. And that's why crypto is so powerful. A lot of people understand it's the data that's attached to it, It's also why a lot of people are scared of it, because they can track everything that goes on. But data is the most powerful and most valuable resource on the planet. But a lot of people hear data and they think, weird robot sounds and a cloud sound like shit like that, right? But really all data is like information on your customers, right? Name, email address, phone number, address, that kind of stuff. That's really what data is.
Absolutely.
And the things that they buy, or maybe the moves that they make, or the places but it's data is just information. It's a fancy tech word for information. And specifically, the valuable data is information on clients, right? Information on buyers, information on people on your email list. So let's say that you knock doors and you spend your time knocking doors. Most people, let's say you got to knock 10 doors to get somebody to answer. And I'm just throwing shit out there. I don't know, but you got to knock 10 doors to get someone to even answer, right? Then on that 10th door, you may not make a sale. And it may take you 5 to 10th doors to make a sale, which means you knocked 50 fucking doors to talk to 5 people and close 1 sale, right? We're just doing some quick math. What about the other 49 people that didn't buy from you?
Yeah.
Right? What if you left a little note on their door that said, hey, to get free XYZ, go to this website and give me your information and I'll mail it to you, right? So, hey, to get a free AC inspection, they're not home, slap a sticker on their door. It says, hey, to get a free AC inspection and at least, I don't know, 1,000 BTUs of what do you call the shit that you put in the AC? Anyway, I thought
furnaces.
I thought it was gonna be slick for a minute, totally fucked it up, but you get the point, right?
So I get it. No, you're dropping nuggets, bro.
But some way for them to contact you and give you data, because so for example, my roofing clients, they knock doors. And so they collect the email addresses and phone numbers from everybody, so that even if you don't do business with them, because when the storm hits, you got that data, you can send an email out saying, hey, we'll take care of your fucking roof, right?
Absolutely.
Same thing with AC. You guys go and you put all these ACs in, and then you can send out an email once a year. It's like, hey, let me come and service your shit for free, right? And that gives you a chance to get in front of them. You're like, damn, it's hot up here in this front room. You need some more of this or that, right? Just gives you got, let's say that it's a record 105 degrees in Texas for fucking 100 days in a row. You could be hitting them. It's like, is your AC working? You know what I mean? But without that data, what are you doing? You're scrambling trying to find clients. That's why I said level 1's so important. Lead gen, which is gathering data, and then sales, which is getting and extracting money from the data. Those are the 2 fucking things that you really gotta master. And the more data you can collect, see, here's the thing: people think, well, if I have this person's phone number and they don't buy from me, what good is it? Man, people may not buy from you now, but who knows what they're gonna do 6 months or 6 years from now.
Absolutely. I mean, everyone needs heat in there.
They swore by might piss them off, or their dude that they swore by, their hookup, their homie that does it, may be fucking dead. You don't know, man. Things change over time. How many times have you wanted to score with a chick, but she has a boyfriend? Over time, that motherfucker disappears. You slide right in there. You know what I'm saying? We all been there, fellas.
Yeah, no, absolutely, man. I love what you're saying right there. You're absolutely just dropping bombs and nuggets for my listeners. Progressing a little bit, because we're going to be wrapping up here shortly, talking about your books that came out. I read 2 of your books, one of them being the hardcore closer/loser, right? Talking about your journey, and then talking about the G code that just came out several months back. I mean, you got people dedicated to this where they're getting tattoos of G code on them. How does that make you feel? And what's the process of being an author?
If you ask, there's really 2 questions you can ask any American, and they're probably going to say yes to. One of them is like, if you ever thought about doing something in real estate, almost every American will be like, yeah, I have. It's like, it's just like natural thing around here. And the other's write a book. You ever thought about writing a book? Everybody says, yeah, I've thought about it. And I thought about it too. And then one day I just thought, well, I'll fucking do it. I like typed. Like, here's the great thing. I like typed with like 2 fingers, like on the keyboard. You know what I'm saying?
You mean you're human, right? You're not superhero?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
But here's the beautiful thing. At the end of doing my book, which turned out to be like 37,000 words, dude, I could type like a motherfucker. It not only helped me write my book, I learned how to fucking play the keyboard, man. I'm over here like Stevie Wonder and Kermit the Frog. You know what I'm saying, man? Like I got this thing down. So it was like I developed an entirely new skill throughout the process too, right? But then I realized that I could have just voice recorded the whole thing and paid one of those AI services to translate it for me, which is what I did in the future. But I just did it, man. I didn't know, and it turns out it's pretty easy to write a book, put it in PDF format, upload it to Amazon, and they're so smart they convert it to a book. Nice. So so I've used Amazon as the center, but we've sold like 150,000, 125,000 books. I think awesome. I've written 13 or 14, and the G Code is my latest. And here's the thing: I wrote Hardcore Closer to trick people, and just be honest. It was a sales book, and then they would read it and realize there is literally no fucking sales advice whatsoever, but it's one of the most entertaining stories ever told. One day that's going to be a movie. I'm just not to the happy ending quite yet, right? I'm getting there though. But one day that'll be a movie. But I wanted a book that salespeople would buy and then read and resonate with and go, well, I got no sales value from this, but I'm fucking inspired, right?
Absolutely.
But I went on to write 10 other books on sales, Elevator to the Top, Social Media Millions, Sell It and Scale It, Sell Your Ass Off. Like I wrote, 11 other books on sales. I said 10, but it was 11 other books on sales. And I thought, okay, well, I've said pretty much all I got to fucking say about that, 11 fucking books later. And in 2019, I decided I was going to write a personal development book, like a mindset book, but I needed something that was really simple to follow because I knew my audience. So I looked at like cool slogans and shit, and I came up with the G Code. Turns out it wasn't trademarked. And, people already, it was a code that certain demographic of people operated by, but I wanted it to be the code to greatness. And so we created the logo, which is coding brackets, like you would code a website with a G in the middle, right? Mm-hmm. And so we say that like this is the universal code on this planet to greatness. Here's the 4 steps that you got to go through. And so we created an app and a numerical way of keeping a record and score on there, which has turned out to be a big dick measuring contest for many of us now, and because some of us are in multiple thousand points at this point, at 4 points a day. When you get a few thousand points racked up, you live in this shit.
Oh, absolutely.
And so, now I started writing that book in 2019, and in September of 2019, I broke my neck, and they care flighted me to a hospital and told me I wasn't gonna. I ride ATVs and 4-wheelers all the time, and I had an accident in South Texas, and it's my fault. I don't know how it happened, but it was my fault. I was driving and I fucked up and flipped this cheap ass side by side. I shouldn't have been riding in the first goddamn place.
I just bought a side by side.
Yeah, you're probably okay, man. This was one of them little cheap mule motherfuckers. I shouldn't have been driving the damn thing anyway. You know what I mean? So anyway, it'd be like me trying to I drive a Lamborghini. It'd be like me trying to race around in a Prius or something.
Yeah, right.
I should have.
You were driving a golf cart. A golf cart.
Exactly, man. And I got 4-wheelers, like good ones, Can-Ams, right? And I'm trying to treat this fucking thing like it was one of them, and it wasn't, clearly.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? So anyway, so I got ejected from it, landed on my head, broke my neck in 2 places, and they told me in the hospital that I wasn't ever going to be able to walk again. And like, that's some eye-opening shit. You know what I mean? Like, what do you mean I'm not gonna walk again? They're like, yeah, man, you broke your C6 and C7 vertebrae, and like fucking smashed them, Stewman. You're done for. And they gave me a wheelchair, man. This is really the power of the mind. They gave me a wheelchair for my wife to escort me out of the hospital, and I walked out. And the doctors and shit were like, what the fuck? And I was like, I don't need the fucking chair. I'm going to walk down. You're not telling, I don't like being told what to do. So I'm like, you're not going to tell me what I can or can't fucking do. And I walked out, man. And this happened in San Antonio, and I came back to Dallas and saw the neurologist the next day. And he said, man, the only reason you're able to walk is because you've been in the gym for 20 years and your traps are so fucking hard that when your neck broke, the shit didn't move. Usually how people get paralyzed is when the C6 breaks, it pinches a nerve. He's like, your shit's fucking rocked in place, man. So there again, there's one of those things where like for 23 years now, I've been in the gym 4 or 5 days a week doing like rigorous exercise, right? And I hate it. Like, don't let me, I'm not one of these guys that say, oh, I love the gym. It's my favorite place. So fuck the gym, right? I hate that fucking place. But I go there because I know it's good for me. It's crazy that 20 years of doing that and all of a sudden damn near a death experience, but that saved my ass.
Life,
and that's part of the G code too, is like your genetics, right? Taking care of your body, taking care of what you eat. Because I mean, how many people you know that got rich and then died of cancer? It's what happened to Steve Jobs, you know? And how many people you know get rich and get fat, man? I seen one of my homies last weekend I haven't seen in 2 years. The dude, you know, was like real thin and in good shape stuff. That dude's making about 20 million a month right now. And he looked like he eat 20 million donuts a month right now too, right? And
did you tell him?
I love him. Yeah, I pulled him to the side. I'm like, bro, this ain't it, man. You know, like you want to enjoy this shit. I get it. You took 2 years off, but I'm gonna expect you to go back to work. You know, like that. That's who I am. I'm not the talk shit behind your back guy. I'm gonna say some shit to your face that sometimes you may not like it. I get messages all the time. It's like 3 years ago I told you to fuck off. It turns out you did me a favor. I didn't like you at first, but you were right. You know, and it's my job. It's not to tell you what you want to hear.
Don't fucking sugarcoat it. Just tell me the fucking facts, bro.
If you want somebody to tell you what you want to hear, go find one of your loser friends that'll sympathize with you, you know?
Exactly. And that actually goes to my next thing. You know, people talk about whoever you surround yourself with, the 5 people is usually who you come out to be, right?
Yep.
How true of a statement is that?
It's true, man, because 5-6 years ago, I surrounded myself with, I was in a situation where I was like the first person in my circles that I knew that made millions of dollars. And so what do? You just hang out with the same old crowd, right?
Yep.
But then what happens is you think you're going to lift them up, but the trick is they usually pull you down.
Yep.
And I noticed that. And so I cut ties with them, man. And it was like not easy because I wasn't a dick about it. It's just like when I got invited to something, I was always busy, you know? And then people at a certain point of that, people got like, oh, I always fucking invite you. You don't ever do anything. It's like, man, maybe we just doing different things, you know? It's no hard feelings. I don't hate you, man. I'm just operating a little different than you guys. I don't want to go out and drink tonight. I'm not a big drinker. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to go out and have 20 fucking beers. I go out and have like 2 drinks and be home by 8:30, but y'all ain't even talking about going out till 10. You know what I mean? I'm fucking asleep by then because I got to be up at 5.
Absolutely.
Know? And I started surrounding myself, and it wasn't easy. A lot of people say, well, it's easy for you because you're famous. You can just go fucking hang out with doctors and lawyers and businessmen and shit like that. And that's not the truth, you know? 2018, my wife and I were doing our annual planning, and I said, we need to be friends with more like people of influence, you know, like athletes, celebrities, like people of influence that are elite at what they do, so that it allows us to get in the presence of greatness and allows us to level up and change our thinking too. And we can, you know, there's mutual friendships we need there. We need to play bigger. By 2019, I had thrown an event by March that had 1,200 people there, and some of the biggest influencers in fucking social media came and spoke for free. It was my event. I don't even know how the fuck this happened, but it happened. And so like all those people meet me, and then they're like, this dude's cool as shit. He's hilarious. He's funny. Don't want nothing. He's not trying to pitch us on his fund or some shit like that. He's just like a cool dude. And so then they started being friends. So at the end of that year, I told my wife, we got to figure out how to get them all out of California and New York and Texas, man, because I ain't fucking going to California or New York this much, man. And obviously the pandemic happened in 2020, and like, I don't know, 20 of my friends moved out of California and New York down here to Dallas, where we live. Like, you know, about July of last year, all my friends start calling me, go, hey man, well, tell me what it's like in Texas, man. You know, I've been hearing some good things down there. I'm like, tell your friends it sucks, but for you, it's fucking awesome.
Yeah, right. We don't need everyone, just you, you.
Yeah, just you, bro. Don't like bring nobody else. But let me tell you where to live. And now, I mean, we've got all these folks here. We just did an event this next Thursday and Friday here in Dallas, and we sold tickets for only 3 days, and we sold out. The truth is, by the time you play this on the air, they'll fucking have figured it out anyway. But I accidentally oversold the thing by like 200 fucking tickets. I don't know what the fuck I'm gonna do, but that's a, worst
Hey,
case
that's a
scenario is give
good
their fucking
problem
money
to
back, but
have.
that's a good problem.
Yeah.
I'm betting some of them aren't gonna show up because that's usually what happens. You know what I mean? Like there's always a certain percentage, and and if they bitch, I just be like, well, here's your fucking $100 back. Sorry, but you can still stay. So it's like whatever, but yeah, that's the kind of problems we have these days, But all that came from me separating from my mediocre friends, and it can be your family too. Like who you spend the most time with. It doesn't say who you spend the most time with outside of your family. Oftentimes our families are not
to
the
bring us down.
thinkers.
Absolutely.
And I'm very careful to the point where a lot of people think I'm an asshole about it, or douchebag is usually the word they use, but I'm very careful of who I like let in my circle. I've worked so hard to get rid of so many people without burning a bridge over the years, and family and friends included, that a lot of people, like I had a guy last week named Cole Hatter, who I've known for 3 years. He's a friend of mine, but he's like, you don't really talk much in person. And I was like, well, I talk on fucking stage and shit all the time. It's just like being quiet, and he's like, well, so you don't really say nothing. So I just thought, you're a cool guy or whatever. He's like, but lately I've been paying attention to you. He's like, dude, you're fucking making huge moves, man. And you never say anything. He goes, I see behind the scenes because I know a couple of people that know you, but like the shit that you do that you don't tell people, how come you don't talk about that stuff? It's like, I don't need to. I don't need to tell everybody like, hey, here's what I got going on or blah, blah, blah. But I have to be reserved on that. It's like, and you may have felt this too, right? Like the first month where we made $100,000 in a month. This was a long, long, long time ago. I was happy. Like, to sales talk with sales pros, like, dude, we had our first 6-figure month.
Yeah.
By the time that happened 3 months in a row, it's like, dude, I got money now. I'm never telling nobody anything ever fucking again. And that was, 6 years ago. And so, a lot of these guys that are in our industry love to brag about how much money they're making and all that stuff. And I don't want that to be the presence of why someone decides whether they want to be my friend or client for that matter, right? I want people to not say, hey, I wish I had his money. I want people to say, I wish I had a motherfucker's life, because that's what I can give you.
Absolutely. The knowledge that you could give them. And at the end of the day, I mean, you're helping out so many people, right? You're talking about these big events that you throw. I'm actually throwing, Ryan, my first event for all my listeners. They already know about it. It's pretty much sold out for the next 2 weeks. They're on sale. But Vacaville, California, I'm throwing, California's shut down, but I said, screw it. Let's do a big networking training event. Let's fill this place up. I got people coming from all the way from the West Coast, all the way from the East Coast of New York, all coming to learn how to get to the next level, shift your mindset, right? So for my listeners that are listening to this podcast, if you have not bought a ticket yet, go to www.hvacmastersofthehustle.com. This thing is going to be sold out. It's pretty much sold out, but like Ryan said, I'm overselling it right now, right? Because some people might not show up. But Ryan, bringing this to a conclusion, I got business owners listening to this, dispatchers, service technicians, installers, comfort advisors, which are sales professionals. What would you like for them to get out of this episode of HVAC Masters of the Hustle?
Just be inspired and realize that you ain't got to, especially on the last part I was talking about, it's like, you don't really have to brag about your moves. Let your actions speak for themselves, and the problem is, your actions speak for themselves, but they speak very quietly, but they speak to the right people. If you think about the mafia, those guys weren't loud and shit, man. They were always real quiet. Hey, we take care of them, right?
Yeah.
And the right people knew exactly what they were saying, and I'm not telling you to join the mafia or any of that shit. I'm just saying that, like, your actions speak louder than words, but they speak very quietly, but very matter-of-factly to the right people. I would encourage you just to keep making moves, and it's okay to brag. You know what I mean? There's nothing wrong with that, but just keep making your moves, right? Problem is, sometimes when you brag, you got people that try to bring you down. It seems like it's always the people closest to you. You're like, hey, we need a record month this month. They'd be like, who the fuck you think you are? Tony Robbins? Like, no, I'm Ryan Stewman. Just fucking, damn, can I win for a minute? Can I win for a minute? I spent my whole life losing. I'm sure you were cheering that on, but like, can I win for a minute? You got to cheer me on. Shut the fuck up. All right. That's all I'm asking.
Absolutely, brother.
But if anything, inspiration, and then, having that level of mindset, thinking that, hey, man, whatever problem you got, I know this. I've had a lot of problems in my life. Whatever problem you got can always be outworked.
Absolutely, brother. Well, thank you for being a guest on the podcast, brother. I greatly appreciate it. Until next time, you guys.